Hello, welcome to Competitive Pauper Cast, episode 8. With me today is Dan,
Hi guys.
David,
Hello.
and Will is with us today.
Yeah, finally I made one.
Yeah,
Hi
so,
Will.
What's going
so
on,
that's
guys?
pretty cool. But before we get started too much, I decided I want to do some crack packs. For a couple reasons. One, it's to evaluate cards from the new sets and see what kind of things it could maybe bring to us. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm also a big limited player too. I use my pauper winnings typically to fund my drafts, and so that's what I like doing. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and crack this Theros pack. We've got I don't know, the black guy who looks really mean on the front of the cover here. So I'm going to go through each card, and you guys tell me what you think of that, whether you'd pick that or not. The first card in the pack is Demolish. Yeah, but
I sideboarded that in M14 this year, and it was the first time I ever played it, and it was awesome.
Wow.
But I would never recommend it.
yeah, in M14 you have the Smelt, and that's just much better than Demolish.
Yeah, he had Mutavault, Awaken the Ancients, and Haunted Plate Mail. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, Demolish was nuts for you then.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I mean, I'm not first picking that. Next we have Ifara's Warden, which 3 and a white for a 1/2. Tap it to tap target creature with power 3 or less.
Not really feeling it.
Yeah, sometimes those effects are really good and limited, but the last
Not
one
F4.
like this was in Zendikar. Yeah, not F4. And it was the one in Zendikar, I think, was 2 and wasn't very good.
Yeah, my thought is it comes down way late. The body is really small. You know, dies to Magma Jet. Or not Magma Jet. The Scry one.
Yeah, Magnet.
Magnet.
Okay. And yeah, you tap a creature with power 3 or less, which Theros has a really big creature, so this guy's worthless. I'm definitely not picking that. Next we have a good old bear, Flesh Mad Steed, 1 and a black for a 2/2. And whenever another creature dies, tap Flesh Mad Steed.
Well, bear with downside does not sound like where I want to be Pac-Man pick 1.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's okay, but it's definitely not great.
Is
Yeah.
it won't 2-drops be like 2-drops in M14 in Theros that you don't need?
Not quite.
Too many?
Theros is a little bit faster than M14.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
It's not much faster, but it seems like it's a little bit faster, and sometimes you can get off on 2 drops, and your opponents can't do anything about it because, you know, they're holding a whole bunch of 5 and 6 drops in their hands, hoping to bestow them and whatnot. So, Flesh Mad Steed, not bad, but certainly not first pick. Next, we've got another not first pick. Fellhide Minotaur, 2 and a black for a 2/3.
Oof.
I loved this guy in M14. Undead Minotaur is what it's called in M14. Drafted a lot of him.
A 2/3 for 3 was the best it's ever been in that format, and I was still looking to wheel it.
Yeah. Well, it's I would take him probably more aggressively than I should have, and he always worked out for me.
I definitely didn't. I took him well before wheel on many occasions, but I still think the optimal place to grab him is like on the wheel.
Yeah. Next we got Lost in a Labyrinth, which is target creature. It's a blue mana for target creatures -3, -0 till end of turn. Scry 1.
This might be the best card we've seen.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, I hate effects like this. I hate like Hydro Surge and like yeah, it's just awful. I really hate these effects. So that being said, it's a combat trick. Sometimes you can get people with it, but I'm not looking to take it ever. So Farika's Cure is Sword and Thirst, black for deals 2 damage to target creature and you gain 2 life.
That's it. There it is.
Yeah, there it is. There's the removal. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that aside. That's what we're doing right now. Next is Rage of Perforos. Deals 4 damage to target. It's 4 in a red. Deals 4 damage to target creature. It can't be regenerated this turn. Scry 1.
if this card was instant speed, it would be pretty boss, but at sorcery speed, not so much. I'd rather stick with the cure.
Yeah, well, what's interesting about this format, though, is that it's 4 is like the magic number in this format.
Yeah.
It's so it's pretty good, and removal is very, very scarce, especially in colors that are not called black. So, I mean, I'm probably taking Rage over Freaka's Cure first pick. Plus, Freaka's Cure or the Rage is more splashable with only 1 mana symbol, and
Yeah, that's true.
2 black is rough for first pick.
Wait, it's
Yep.
1 red and 4 colorless?
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Oh, that changes my evaluation entirely. Yeah, I think I'd go with the red one.
yeah. Next is the card I played with at the pre-release. It's Feral Invocation. 2 and a green for Flash, Enchantment Aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2.
It's okay. I mean, it's like a decent combat trick, and it does the heroic stuff, but it's no removal spell.
No, it's certainly not. But what I found about this format was it's very much like they made hexproof auras a strategy, and like you're basically just trying to Voltron up the biggest dude you can.
I've noticed that too, and I think that this is a fine card for it, but I'd still rather have the way to deal with it.
Yeah,
That sounds like the basis for a horrible limited format if both players are sitting there building their Voltrons and nobody has removal.
yeah. I don't know. I like this card. It's if I find that I like green a lot more in this format than anything else, I'd take this over the Rage. But like at M14, I typically liked playing green a lot, so I would take things like a Rumbling Baloth first over decent removal in that format. Like a Liturgy of Blood.
Yeah.
But that's just because I like green. But I don't know, I'll keep this in mind. I'm pretty happy with that card myself. The next card we have, though, is a really odd one for this format. It's Returned Centaur. It's 3 and a black for a 2/4. When Returned Centaur enters the battlefield, target player puts the top 4 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard.
Weird.
I played this in the pre-release, like 2 of them. I guess I played 1 in my deck, and it was very underwhelming, but not as bad as I expected it to be. That helps. I mean, it's still pretty terrible, but you can target yourself. My deck was really grindy, so I targeted my opponent because there was actually a shot I could mill him. So you can find stuff to do with the 4 cards, and the 2/4 body's kind of respectable.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the graveyard... What can you use your graveyard for? Because this is not a mill... Black, it doesn't have mill strategies. It's really, if self-milling means you're trying to get something out of your graveyard.
In my deck, you could, there's a black and 3 colorless for return 2 target creatures from your graveyard to your hand.
Oh, yeah.
So I used it to mill myself into the card draw, basically.
Huh, that makes sense.
The card is really meant to go with the Whip of Erebos. So this way you kind of mill yourself, and then you do the its activated ability. But for Pauper's sense, I mean, that's not relevant for us.
Yeah. Well, so that's it for Pauper. Freakus Cure is nice for Pauper. Rage of Perforos, not so much. Feral Invocation, really kind of not so much. I could see it Feral in Pauper, but Freakus Cure is probably it's just a replacement Sword's Thirst, which does see fringe sideboard play in black decks, but But we're going to move along to uncommons for drafting purposes, and the first uncommon is a doozy. Centaur Battlemaster. 3 green for a 3/3 heroic. Whenever you cast a spell that targets Centaur Battlemaster, put 3 +1/+1 counters on it.
He's good.
He's insane. This guy's insane, right? He doesn't require really any additional cards to just be complete blowout during combat, and he's pretty much always going to be the biggest thing on the battlefield, provided you can target it a few times.
I imagine casting that green spell on him.
Yeah.
During pre-release, I saw somebody go green, white, heroic, deck, and they had one of these, and he had 3 of the white ordeals, and he went turn 5 this into turn 4. No, I'm sorry, turn 6 double ordeal on this, and all of a sudden now it was a it was a 11-11 swinging with getting +2/+2, so it was a 13-13. It was unreal, like the Voltron creatures that you put together in this format.
Yeah.
Isn't this the classic B plus from limited resources reviews that it's not a bomb because it doesn't really protect you very well, etc., and it can be removed with 1 removal spell, but it's as good as it can get.
Yeah, pretty much. This is like
pretty much
as good as an uncommon can get. I'm putting that above the removal spells personally, but
yeah.
Next card is.
I'm wishy-washy.
Yeah.
I'm putting it over those 2 removal spells, but I hope there are others better.
There really aren't, and that's the issue. Like,
oh my god.
Yeah, there's no good removal spells in this format.
you need something. I hate removal. I mean, I don't know if you guys realize how much I hate it in Pauper, but in Limited, it's a necessary evil. And I kind of think it might be so necessary that we have to reach to 4 mana burn spells for 5.
Yeah, that's pretty
4
awful.
damage burn spells for 5.
At sorcery speed.
Yeah.
No. I don't know. I still like the Centaur Battlemaster. I think the guy's insane. But our next card is Stone Shock Giant. It's 3 red for 5/4. That's pretty good. And it's got Monstrosity for 6 red, Monstrosity 3. You guys know what Monstrosity does, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Alright, cool. So, when Stone Shock Giant becomes monstrous, creatures without flying your opponent's control can't block this turn.
Nice bonus.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of torn about this guy because usually I like the threat of activation monstrosity type effect, and this guy really wants you to monstrosity on your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, pre-combat at least.
Yeah.
3 blockers.
That being said, when you monstrosity him, it pretty much says win the game.
Yeah, it's an effect you never want to pay a card for, but you don't have to here.
I love that effect. I pay effect for that all the time.
Oh yeah, I would play. You know, if I was playing red in M14, I would always look to pick up at least 1 seismic stomp.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if I'd play it main deck, but I'd definitely play it in the sideboard. And Gruul Charm, I think, was the best charm in Ravnica, just because you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this effect really gets through board stalls and just makes you win the game like on the spot, which I really liked. And that's what I liked about Seismic Stomp too. Because typically where I was playing Seismic Stomp in M14 was in the red-white aggro decks or in the green-red aggro decks, heavy aggro decks. So, I mean, whenever I cast that, typically my opponents didn't have enough flyers to block all my dudes, and that just meant I win the game whenever I cast Seismic Stomp. So yeah, I like Seismic Stomp effects. I certainly like the Centaur better here.
I don't know. I mean, I think in a vacuum the Centaur's better, probably, because if you see that effect, you assume there's a lot of targets for Heroic, and I know there are. But I don't really know how the board state's going to play out in this format. And it could be that there's just a lot of, board clogs, and if so, it's possible the Giant is just much better.
Yeah, he could be.
Like, the 11-11, or the 3-3 that turns into an 11-11 takes a lot of work to do it. And granted, pack one, pick one, you can start shaping that deck. But this Stone Shock Giant, I think, is just a better card without any work.
Yeah.
In M13, you had Hamlet-back Goliath that often became much larger than 13-13 and almost never... It did cost 7 mana, but it was often on the table and it wasn't important at all. Because you had the board stalls and you had I just block something. So I think the Giant, if there is any risk of board stalls here, I think the Giant is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure
that
about...
I'd take the Centaur right now with my knowledge on the format.
Alright.
I think that it's a consideration, the
Well, we still have a few more cards to go. So, the next card is Coordinated Assault, which is 1 red for an instant. That is 1 red mana for an instant. And up to 2 target creatures gain, or each get +1/+0 and gain first strike until end of turn. Ooh.
This is one of the best combat tricks.
It really is. I got completely blown out by this at the pre-release.
Yeah, I've seen this land a couple times, and every time if it didn't straight up wreck the board right there, it definitely put the player way ahead.
Yep. It's really hard to get 2-for-1s in this format too, especially this cheaply and in the aggro color.
Yeah.
So this card does a couple things. It activates your heroic on your red-white creatures, and it lets you win combat with your weenies against their monstrous dudes. Yeah, I like this card a lot.
What's the rare?
The rare is Gift of Immortality. Boo. It's 2 and a white for Enchantment Aura. Enchant creature. When an enchanted creature dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. Return Gift of Immortality to the battlefield attached to that creature at the beginning of the next end step.
Okay.
Fun card.
It basically says your creature never dies.
That's grindy.
Yeah, it's very, very grindy. And
How common are enter the battlefield effects?
there's not really a whole lot in this format.
There was a kid who opened up a seal pool, an Ashen Rider, and this, and just completely, he got to play, I think, 2 times in the 4 rounds, and he just completely blew somebody out. For those that don't know, like, Ashen Rider is an 8 mana 5/5 flyer, but whenever it enters the battlefield or it dies, you exile a target permanent. So that mixed with Gift Immortality pretty much means that, like, with a sacrifice outlet, you can exile 2 permanents a turn. Oh my god, it was leading to, he completely wiped somebody's board in like 4 or 5 turns. I mean, 3 or 4 turns.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We do have a foil card here. It's
Ooh.
That's pretty. Foil card is really pretty. Sea God's Revenge.
Okay.
Sea God's Revenge. It's 5 and a blue for return up to 3 target creatures your opponents control to their owner's hands. Scry
I
one.
was worried this was going to be a hard pick, and now I know what I'm taking.
Oh, you too, huh? Yeah.
How much did it cost?
Yeah.
Did it cost 5?
6 mana.
It's
6.
5 and a blue.
This card is just insane. I had it cast against me a few times in the pre-release, and both times it was cast against me. My opponents didn't know how to play the card really, and it was still really good. They had nothing on board, and I was just way ahead. You could even recast my guys next turn, and yet it was still just a monumental blowout.
Yeah.
It just like enabled him to, like, I could only recast a couple of my guys, and that allowed him to start getting the tempo swing back in his favor, and that's like the worst possible use of it.
That's a lot of tempo in one card.
Yeah, if you have any board presence at all, it's insane.
Yeah, and it's also you also get to filter with it. You get to scry one. So, and to look at the top card, if it's a land at that point in the game when you have 6 mana, you could probably pitch it. So, pitch it to the bottom. So it does give you like some card advantage there.
Yeah, it's like I'll blow you out and get a little more value.
And I get to see what I get to look at next turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
and
card's
it's a good way to sort of deal with that Voltron type effect we've been seeing, like bouncing is as good a way as any, and probably the most efficient way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Can this actually bounce the bestowed auras?
Oh,
So
that is a really good question. I don't think so. I don't think you can target them while they're auras.
No, I think you can. Because while they're still auras, because it gains the ability. Oh no.
I don't
We're
know.
wrong.
It's
Because
weird.
when it's bestowed, it becomes an enchant aura, enchant creature.
Yeah, I don't think you can target the aura. You can only target the creature.
Yeah, you can't target the aura.
I don't know. What are you guys taking? I know, David, you're taking Sea God's Revenge, and so am I. But
I'm with you guys on Sea God's Revenge here.
I want to take Sea God's Revenge too, but if we all take the same card, that would be really boring.
Well, the more interesting analysis is what do you take if Sea God's Revenge wasn't there?
Okay, I'll go for the giant.
ooh, that's interesting. David, what are you going for?
I don't know. Maybe Coordinated Assault is really hard. After that's gone, it's really up in the air.
Yeah, I kind of like the Centaur myself, but I'm a little biased towards green because I did so well with green in M14, so I want green to be good again.
You know what? Just because of I've been doing a lot of kind of research into the Theros, I'm definitely going. If Sea God's Revenge isn't there, I'm going Centaur Battlemaster.
All right.
All right, it's pretty sweet. So first crackback wasn't too bad there.
That was pretty good.
Let's talk about commons.
Oh yeah, let's talk about commons. Dan, you got any advice for us on financial picks?
I do, yes. We had an article on MTG Strat this week about some predictions about prices, and the train has already left for all the speculative things on the bannings, like Unmake, the White Weenie cards, Tortured Existence, etc. If you did buy them when you heard of the bannings or earlier, you should now sell them probably, because I think Tortured Existence will have a very hard time climbing anywhere with a decent upside now. So sell the banning speculation cards now. What you want to buy is probably within the next week Cloud of Fairies and Snap. Cloud of Fairies is now down to its March level before David started pushing it up. And other Stone Coast players did.
I didn't have much to do with that one, actually.
I think Cloud... I know, but the Temple Fisher decks did. I think Temple Fisher, I think Cloud of Fairies will stay at about this level for a little while, around between 4 and 5, and then will go up again, as it will still be a key card in one of the top 2 decks, maybe top 3 decks. And they are not reprinting it. They are not letting us draft Ursa anytime soon. So Snap and Cloud of Fairies. Get the play sets. They are not good speculation targets, but they're very good to pick up if you're going to play with them.
Yeah, I sold mine as soon as I heard the bannings, and I sold them at Cloud of Fairies at about 7 and Snaps at about 4.5 maybe. I just rebought them. I had really good deals because MTGO Bazaar was really low prices on both of them. So I rebought. It's pretty sweet. I have noticed though that a lot of the black removal spells like Diabolic Edict are really high in price right now. I was trying to put together.
There's probably maybe also sell targets. Diabolic Edict, Spinning Darkness. Those from the older sets, the sets that were not really.
How much is Diabolic Edict?
Sorry?
How much is Edict?
Diabolic Edict right now is $325.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm looking at MTGOstats.com here. So whatever they reference, I think they reference MTGO's traders.
Yeah,
lists.
3.5 on MTGO traders right now.
Yeah, and Spinning Darkness is almost 5 tickets right now.
That's insane. Not to talk about Crypt Rats.
Yeah, Crypt Rats is more than 5. It's like 7 or 6, close to 6.5.
Exactly a year ago, when I bought a pile of Crypt Rats at 1 ticks each. So yeah. Yay me.
Good finance.
Yeah. They have been. We haven't seen one really valuable old format during this entire year. And last year they gave us Invasion, they gave us Mirage, Tempest, Ursa, and Mercadian Masks.
Yeah, they're really
days for 4 tickets at Christmas.
Man, where was I when that was happening?
Yeah,
Days
those
is up to
fun.
12 now.
Some of those draft draft formats are insanely fun too.
Love Mirage. That's one of the good.
Yeah, see, the first time I ever drafted was, I was back when I was like 12 years old. I drafted Tempest. That was a lot of fun.
If you like Sea God's Revenge, you love Undo in Mirage Draft. 1 and 2 blue for return 2 target creatures.
Oh yeah, that's my kind of card.
Yes.
Anyway,
that's it for finance this week.
Alrighty.
Wait, I have one question.
Yeah.
Well, I've just lost my place on the card I wanted to ask about.
I have a question. Don't remember it.
Hold on. I'm gonna make some noise. What do you think about Freed from the Real?
As a speculation. As a speculation target.
Yeah, I know. I bought in like I don't know, 30 of them. I think at a nickel. And then did you guys see on Gathering? No, not Gathering. GatheringMagic.com. Somebody put up a Pauper article about Storm cards. Now that the top 3 Pauper Storm cards, Grape Shot, Empty the Warrens, Temporal Fissure, were gone. He was kind of speculating on what new Storm card was gonna see play.
Yeah.
One of them that he was thinking about was the Sprouting Vines. To search your library for a basic land card.
I do like that card. There's just not many ways to turn the lands into cards.
See, that's what he was thinking too, but then he put in a bunch of cards that like had you discard cards, like Wild Mongrel, Simian Brawler. The Simian Brawler just discard a land card, and you get a +1/+1. And then he also had a lot of like retrace cards as well to kind of take advantage of them.
I mean, it's definitely a fun card to work with. I've used it a lot on the things I would use it with. Actually, were like mill type strategies where you kind of mill your opponent out with various stuff. Because a lot of the card draw in Pauper doesn't draw you positive card advantage unless you want to spend a lot of mana for it. It just sort of keeps you the same. And so I'd spend play lands and cast like Brainstorm and stuff to Jace's Erasure my opponent, but my cards would just be going down slowly over time, and then eventually you could Sprouting Vines for like 4 or 5, and then play like Tellurian Winds, discard your hand, and then draw 5 cards. So like that's a way you can fiddle with that card too. I found it just wasn't really powerful enough, the interactions you can do with it. But I mean, if someone can break it, that'd be awesome. I think that card's sweet.
So Dan's been running the Freed from the Real combo deck in the Gauntlet.
Love Train. Yeah, Freed from the Real has caused some discussion on Twitter lately as well, and it's way too early to say that it's a tournament viable strategy. So I want to be clear on the record that I'm not saying that.
I've seen a similar deck 4-0 ideally a week before.
But if we're still on finance then, about Freed from the Real, there is a point that needs to be taken out. It's so hard to speculate on a card that is so cheap. I picked up 8 Freed from the Real for 1 cent each yesterday. And to actually sell that at any profit, that is sort of a reasonable return for the time spent, is almost impossible. I did buy Temporal Fissure at 1 cent and sell them at 50. But that's the only card that has yielded me that. I bought a lot of common speculatively at 0.5 cent, 1 cent, 0.2 cents, and they just takes years to be able to cash them out. Because when you sell a card that's below $50 to the bots, their rake is so high, their fees can be up to 90%.
Mm-hmm.
So you really look, if you're speculating, a good rule to have that I never follow myself is to never speculate on cards that you plan to sell for less than a ticket. If you sell them for more than a ticket, then you can actually sell them to humans and avoid the bot rake as well.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
There is an amazing article from last Friday on Pure MTGO about why speculating on Magic Online is hopeless for most people.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's an 18-month experiment by Pete Jan, who does the weekly column State of the Program, the best article series on Pure. And on the 27th of September, he published a summary of 18 months of speculation, and it's not fun reading. It's really for anyone who wants to speculate on Magic Online cards. Basically, the bot rake is so hard to beat that you will fail.
All right. I think I'll basically don't speculate. Freed from the real is pretty sweet,
still, it's good to be aware of the mechanics of card values, so you don't do really stupid things as a player. For example, if you sit today and have your 4 track tasks in your account, then you've done something wrong and lost a lot of value. So still good to be aware of financial issues on Magic Online.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Dan's finance tips of the week. All right, so what have you guys been playing? Dan?
I have been playing the Pauper Gauntlet. I'll talk more about that a little later. I also started a new series called The Modern Noobs. I'm playing some Modern, and I had people hating on my videos about Modern earlier because they were quite popular, but I think people had the wrong expectation. I am the Modern Noob, so I will now warn people properly. I'm testing 12 decks to see which deck I really want to play in Pauper Dailies, and I hope to be able to play my first Modern Dailies. Sorry, I hope to play my first Modern Daily in November, and the project will be going on until PTQ season starts in the summer. I've also played, other than the Gauntlet decks, I played GPH Snakes, very fun brew Awkward Cheetah, and got crushed. So yeah, it was more fun than, but it's interesting. And I've also been playing some Battlefield. So
All right.
when I lose at Magic, I go kill people with my gun in Battlefield.
Always good to release some stress that way.
Yeah.
So David?
Yeah, so last night I 4-0'd with Combo Goblins. Which was
Yeah, I was on when you did that. I was so proud of you.
It was perfect meta call. I was so stoked about it. I played 3 Fissure decks and a Delver deck, and I finally figured out how to address the backup Fissure plan of kind of alternating into a tempo-y, control-y, just like Cloud Post deck instead of really Fissure related. I figured out a good sideboard approach to that. I put some bolts back in, and I realized ultimately that probably the reason why a lot of people are still running the classic Goblins list is, even though they probably have a lower game 1 win percentage against them than I do, they probably have a slightly higher game 2 and 3 percentage than I have had lately because of just the makeup of their deck. And for whatever reason, they probably weren't realizing how good Sparksmith is against Fissure games 2 and 3, which is really bizarre that it is good. Or they were realizing it, and just that's why they were doing it. And I don't want to give them no credit or anything, but that's what I think was going on, is that keeping the Sparksmiths in made it actually a better matchup. So I've started bringing those in, and it really, really shored that matchup up. It didn't even really feel close. The 2 matches where I went to game 3 were mostly because I was in a position where if I just top deck anything for 2 or 3 turns, I win, but I just drew a bunch of lands. So I really liked that change. Fortunately, I figured this all out just in time to never be able to do it again. I actually think Combo Goblins is a terrible choice going forward. The normal Goblins list is much more suitable for a diverse meta, and one that's very combat oriented. And then I've also been playing a lot of cubing online and in real life. online. And I recommend this for anyone doing it. Um, just play Swiss. I don't know why people like to play the nons, like the 8-4-ish or whatever they actually are. I don't know what the prize payout is fully, but I know you get paid out in like actual like Ravnica packs, which unless you really like drafting Ravnica, uh, you could just get paid out in more cube tickets, which is what I do with Swiss, and it's actually like really really easy to go infinite to just do Swiss cube drafts because you don't even need to put actual tickets in. You can just draft fully with cube tickets, and if you win and then like 2-1 kind of alternate in that realm, uh, you actually just have enough to do cube as much as you want to. So I've been doing as much as that as I feel like doing, and I don't have any cool new additions to the cube to really talk about. Oh, we got a Eureka. It's pretty dope for my real life cube. But yeah, that's what I've been doing lately.
All right, sweet. And Will, what have you been up to?
Well, nothing really much in Pauper. Started that new article series, Building with Blocks, where I've been looking to get into the block constructed format. I'm really just waiting in Pauper for the bannings to take place, and then the meta to kind of start getting shaken up. As always, Stompy, Trinket, Goblins, Burn are my go-to decks once the bannings take place. But for the most part, it's just been really block constructed I've been playing with. Getting ready for Theros block to come out.
All right. Yeah, and I've talked about this. We're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but I've been playing elves. After our episode last week with CJ Lack on with elves, I decided, you know what, screw it, I'm going to go for it. So the first elves daily that I ran at 3-1, it was pretty awesome. And finally broke my little stalemate.
What did you lose to?
Affinity. I got Quark Clan Shaman twice, so I won the first game, but he brought in Quark Clan Shamans, and well, those things just destroy elves. So
yeah.
I've already started seeing Affinity moving towards double Quark Clan Shamans in the main again.
Nice.
Yeah, it's it was not. I played against. Man, I played an Elves Mirror, which was really awkward.
Wow.
That was round 1, and then I played. I don't even remember what it was.
Did you also have main deck longbows? You ran CG Lack's list, right?
Yeah. I think the guy was running. I don't remember if it was main. I don't know if it was main deck or if he sided into it, but it looked like he was playing the same CJ Black list as like what I was. So, yeah, I mean, it's really weird, and I think he conceded way early. Like I distant Melody for 5 or 6, and he conceded, and I'm like,
okay.
That's really weird. You could just as easily do the same thing next turn and be still in the game, but it wasn't even like I played like a Well-Wisher or a Timberwatch Elf to make it to where he couldn't possibly win. Like I was so far ahead of him. And what was funny was when I distant Melody, my hand was like a couple of Mana Dorks and like 4 lands. I was like, all right, well, if you're going to concede, sweet. Yeah, and then like round 2, I don't remember what I played. I think it was some blue deck, probably. Oh no, round 2, man, I got nerd raged on. That's right. I played against Simic Stormpost, and like the guy nerd raged on me. He called me a luck sack and whatever. And like he fissured me for, he fissured away my elves board, but I was able to replay it all the next turn because that's what elves do. So, and like I had Well-Wishered up to like 86 life or something like that, so he couldn't torch me. So, yeah, he nerd raged on me, called me a luck sack and complete BS. I was like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way, bro. The guy's name was Lord_Airy, so I'm calling him out right now.
All right.
I don't know why he would be that mad. That's a terrible matchup for Fissure Post. Like any version of it.
I think it's very. I think it's very important here actually to state that now that we go into this new meta, I think that the Pauper dailies will have increased number of players. There will be a lot of players coming back to Pauper. There will be new players interested in Pauper. Please, people, behave in the dailies. Make them a nice experience for everyone. And Pauper might even grow to be the biggest format of Magic Online. And then they have to give us 8-mans.
Yeah, I still want 8-mans. I still want premier events, but what are you gonna do? You want to talk about briefly talk about the gauntlet, Dan?
Yes, the Pauper Gauntlet is going on. It's round 6 is starting on the 7th of October, so there are 7 decks left, and they are all done 5-0 in the Gauntlet. Some of them more surprising than others. I have, for the pure piece on Monday the 7th, ranked them all in the order I think they are powerful and likely to win the Gauntlet. And the least likely is 5-color green, Reality Acid Control, like the grandfather of Azorius Kitty. It has really showed the power of grinding with Reality Acid. There have been some sick matchups. I did a 4-duel fight with a blue-black control deck. So Crypt Rats were involved at some point. The 6th most likely deck to win the Pauper Gauntlet is Icy Hot Hottie, then the Elemental Smoke Braider combo deck, or what do you call it?
Yeah.
Yeah, a Walker of the Grove is very good against Stompy, if you were wondering. The 5th most likely deck to win the Pauper Gauntlet is Illusory Tricks, the mono blue not Delver tempo deck. Which has been having a lot of success. The 4th most likely then is Boros Kitty, and I have great results with Boros Kitty in practice. I'm starting to wondering what Boros Kitty actually loses to now in the meta. But yeah, it might just be me that really like Boros Kitty. So of all the Pauper decks I played 10 or more matches with, the Boros Kitty has the best record of them all. And then at 3rd place we have Love Train, the Freed from the Real combo deck. It's also performing extremely well in my hands for some reason. Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I put that together and I can't win with the deck in practice at all.
I have to speak to JPH Snake then. He's given me a Bible pretty much on how to play it, like the turn-to-turn instructions. So he's really a good brewer for the Pauper Gauntlet. He's working very closely with me to help his decks. The 2nd most likely deck to win then is Mono Blue Control. Feels extremely strong as well. I've just been won 2 mirrors in 2 very different ways. So still using DD Fans list without any contact with him, so there's no brewer help there. And the number 1 seed to win the Pauper Gauntlet is, of course, Stompy, that still hasn't dropped 1 duel in the Gauntlet.
Wow. 1 game, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, 2-0'd every single round.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody just dies to it. As they are not listening to you, David.
Yeah, can I say? I'm surprised you haven't ran into, like, black. Or something.
I have. I crushed a mono black control deck. He wasn't running enough Crypt Rats.
Fair enough. I suppose mono Snoppy does have a lot of resiliency, especially to that type of removal.
Yeah, it does.
I'd say that for mono black control and blue black control decks, Stompy is the hardest aggro deck to handle because it just keeps coming.
Yeah, and Crypt Rats aren't even like really as good against Stompy because Stompy's gonna like push your life total really low, and then like if you Crypt Rats for 3 or whatever open mana you have, and they have a pump spell to leave their creature behind, then you're just in a world of hurt.
You have to remember as the control player then that how to stack Crypt Rats, and you often can negate growth spells as well. But it will, if you're close to death, then you will be in danger anyway. So,
yeah.
But it's all about the Crypt Rats.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's it from the Gauntlet. I will run 3 more rounds in the 2 weeks following the 7th. And on October 21, if the gauntlet, if there's still more than one deck left, I will run 5 rounds. And then I expect to end it. So we'll have a winner. So 12 of this cast, I think.
All right. Sounds pretty good. Will, you were about to say something?
No, I was just saying that was pretty sweet.
All right. Cool. So that brings us on to like the main topic, and as you guys know, I've been on a really big downswing as far as Pauper events go, and I just want to talk about a little bit about that. And I still have quite a few tickets left in my account, even though I've been stocking up on various Pauper staples like Crypt Rats and Dazes, and I've only won 2 daily events since 3 won and 2 daily events, and I still have a lot of tickets left in my account. So I was on a huge downswing. I lost like 12 dailies in a row, in addition to drafting, which is always a negative proposition.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk a little bit about how I overcame that. I overcame that by playing a deck I was completely unfamiliar with, and it was just an all-in deck. And sometimes that's what you need to do to play to recover from downswings. I mean, I played Fissure decks, I played Delver, I played Stompy, a lot of my standard fare stuff, and I just kept losing. So last week when we brought on CJ Lack, and he talked about elves, and he said, you know what, you just play this deck all in. That's really the only way to play the deck. And I was like, that's pretty insightful. I'm just going to put this deck together, see what I can do with it. And I didn't even have to think about lines of play like I do with Stompy. I didn't have to determine which spell to counter like I do with Delver. I didn't have to figure out how to stay alive like I do with Fissure. It was an all-in thing, and I just played it, played out my hand, and you know what? If I got Quark Claned, I got Quark Claned. I didn't even really care at that point. But the main thing that I've done is I had such a big stock of tickets that whenever I went on this big losing streak, it didn't matter to me. I lost, 70 tickets off the losing streak, 72 tickets.
Whoa.
With daily events.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah, but I had such a big stock, and that's what you really need to do if you want to go truly infinite, is have a big stock to recover from these huge downswings. And I was
bankroll management.
Yeah, bankroll management. And you're a poker player too, right, Dan? So you know a little bit about bankroll management.
I think I might overkill this subject, actually. I have already a 15-minute speech prepared here. So continue, please.
Alrighty. Yeah, it's just so I didn't realize that I was managing my bankroll like that, but I really was. And when it really came down to it, I had a lot of cards that I could sell off to keep playing Magic and to keep drafting. Because I was actively drafting the entire time I was on this downswing. Playing a lot of M14 and talked about it every time I was on a podcast. That was what I was doing. And I was good enough at M14 that I wasn't losing a lot, but I was still losing, actively losing tickets while I was playing M14. Because not every draft you get to open a Scavenging Ooze and go 3-0. Sometimes you do, and that was really, really cool. I had the one draft where I opened Primeval Bounty, Scavenging Ooze, and Mutavault, and I went 3-0.
Nice.
Did you play 8-4s or?
I play Swiss, and I have a theory with that, in that every time I play an 8-4, I get mana screwed.
Oh.
Yeah, I've documented this too on video a couple times, where the 8-4 that I tried in the past week, I drafted the Nuts Black-Red Sacrifice deck, and I never drew more than 3 mana in the 2 games I played.
I was just wondering. Not a judgment of any sort. I was just wondering.
Yeah, it's... I think, from a... How do I put this? The variance swings are less if you play Swiss.
I was going to recommend you play Swiss if you
are
struggling.
Like I think I was good enough at
reduces variance.
I was good enough at 8-4s, or good enough at M14 that I could have played 8-4s. But the variance swings on that. Like when I drafted the Nuts Black Red Sacrifice deck, I was like, oh man, I actually have a chance of winning an 8-4. Thank God. And I just never drew more than 3 mana. I had 18 lands in the deck too. It was really frustrating. So, like I hate 8-4s. Every time I try one, I regret it because it always happens.
When you lose game 3 of round 2, oh my God, you just want to kill yourself.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, people play worse in Swiss drafts, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the reason why I was going to recommend that is just because, one, the skill level decreases, so you're more likely to win and get out of funks, and 2, like, you have 3 shots at winning automatically, so you can really just start to, maybe you're not actually winning the tournament every time, but once you can start, like, 1-2ing, if you're just, like, 0-3ing before, you start 1-2ing, then you start 2-1ing, and then you can just convince yourself that you're winning a lot, and then you forget all about a losing streak.
Yeah, and I had my limited rating was up to 1,800 plus this weekend when I was doing my last hurrah of M14. So it was a lot of fun.
We're really going from a Pauper subject, but regarding the 8-4s and Swiss, at some point you give up value by playing the Swiss, but that's if you're on David's level. If you're 1900 plus rating, you should never play Swiss. The one important thing, basically it's a personal choice, but the one important thing is to never, ever play the 4-3-2-2s, because they are just a trap. And people should just boycott them so we get 5-3-2-2s, as we should have. So why pay 11 packs instead of 12?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't. I mean, it seems that the community is pretty vocal against 4-3-3-2s, but they're still around.
They fire more than anything else.
People have crazy reasoning, but if you're like math and numbers and actually think about what you're doing, there is no reason for anyone in the world to ever play 4-3-2-2. But if you have other like soft reasons that don't involve like you making plus expected value dollar decisions, then you can play 4-3-2-2s. But then you're paying for the privilege compared to playing Swiss. We should include the link in the show notes to Judge Bono's a blog post about this, because it's sort of summarizes summarizes the question and answers why nobody ever should play them.
Yeah, I like that list, so send that to me, Dan, and I'll include it in the show notes. So I guess what I was getting at here is like, let me say one more thing here. What I was really getting at was I broke a stalemate by playing a deck that I was completely unfamiliar with, and it was just an all-in deck. It was a combo deck, and it really didn't have to think about much. So I think my opinion is if you're on a stalemate like this, try switching up the deck to something you're not comfortable with, and maybe it'll pull through for you and break your stalemate.
Cool.
All right, awkward silence. Cool.
All right, can I go?
Yeah.
Do it.
Go ahead.
Okay. I've spent 2 years as a poker professional. I've played poker for a living, and I eventually ended up playing sit and goes, 9-man sit and goes on full tilt. I played with the best players on full tilt. It actually got softer when you got over the $216 sit and goes, because then you got the TV professionals that couldn't play sit and goes. Sit and goes are extremely mathematical, and if you're the average player, you have a 33% chance of cashing. In a Pauper daily, if I'm not mistaken, you have 25% chance of cashing if you are a player of absolutely average quality. Correct me if I'm wrong. So a somewhat similar reasoning should apply. Of course, we are talking about peanuts here. We're talking about 6-ticket entry fees, and we're not talking about $216 sit and goes. So most people will just think, oh, it's fun, I want to win. And some of my reasoning here will then apply if you really want to lose as little as possible, win as much as possible, even though it's a very small amount of money. Because I can't get rid of this reasoning. And I think if you plan to never put in more money on Magic Online, why would you do that? But you pretty much need 50 times the buy-in at least to ensure that you never run out of tickets if you are a player of average quality. So you would have to need a bankroll, just as you did, Chris. You need a bankroll of about 300 tickets to play the dailies and not expect to put in more money at some point. You will have somewhere in your career a run of 50 dailies without cashing. If you play 5 a week for years, you will have that run. And you will go crazy. You will be superstitious. You will think that the game is out to get you. You will blame the shuffler. But it's all math. So having a 12 dailies downswing, I think I had a 12 too. That's really nothing. But the danger of losing 12 dailies in a row is that you become your own mental enemy. That you will create a losing situation with your own mindset. And one way that poker players use to get out of this, and it's actually much harder for poker players to get out of it because they're faced with entirely same situation all the time. It's exactly what you did, Chris. Change something. Poker players have to change stupid stuff like where they sit and but you can actually change the deck. What I do when I lose a lot in poker is that I play burn, because I feel that I can play burn on autopilot pretty much. And just changing something kicks you out of that mental trap you're starting to build for yourself. So this is a very good thing to do. You must also, one thing that you could use is to go back and actually review your games. This is something you should do more often than anybody does, but especially when you're losing, go back, look at the game, see what you did wrong, and try to evaluate, and make it a game about making the right decisions instead of winning. Because the only thing you can affect in a game of chance is your decisions and not the actual outcome of the game.
Yeah, all the videos that I record, and this may sound sort of like egotistical, but I'll go back and I'll rewatch all the videos that I've done. See if maybe my commentary was good, or if I didn't mention something, or any play mistakes that I've made. So I'll go through and rewatch all my games at some point on the YouTube channel that we have.
Yeah, that's my actual reason for starting the YouTube channel. I wanted other people to review my games. I could improve and make better decisions.
Yeah.
So, any thoughts or questions about downswings?
You mentioned something about EV here.
Yes. EV, expected value. It's a mathematical term. It means that what happens if I make this decision an unlimited amount of times. So, for example, if I did this exact thing at this exact time 1 million times, what's my expected value? Does that make sense?
And
Yeah.
for Pauper dailies, it's positive, right? So the idea is that
if you're an average player, I am. My track record in the Pauper dailies is somewhat below average. I think I'm like 47% out of 100 from a pretty large sample size, but I'm still positive EV.
Yeah, I could easily. And you said it's 25% if you're better than 25%.
If you're an average player, if you're in the 50% of the players in the dailies are worse than you and 50% are better, then you're 25% likely to cash, because you need a 3-1 record to cash.
Yeah.
So you should cash 1 in 4 dailies.
That's not.
If you're
that's
in
not
the long
good
run
enough,
not doing.
is it?
Sorry?
It's not good enough, is it? Because it's like, or maybe it is depending on pack prices.
It depends on pack prices, yes.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, if packs are going, for 3 ticks, if you can get only that kind of value, it's 33%. But if they're going for, regular full price, most of the
I'm getting
time.
uncertain here. I think there might be. I haven't done the math on this for a long time, but The tree you can get the 3-1 result and you can get the 4-0 result, and the 4-0s
That's
compensate.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it might be somewhat higher actually, but overall the average player is plus EV, and
Yeah.
the pack prices has to go down quite a bit for this not to be true.
I say right now they're paying out an M14. Pack prices for M14, if you're selling to bots, are like $295.
That's close to the break-even point.
All right. So,
But one important thing there as well, in if you play a lot of daily events, keep track of your results, because you will overestimate how good you are. You will remember the 3-1s, you will remember the 4s, you will forget all of your auto drops.
I certainly didn't. That's all I could think about until I finally broke it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, it was all I could think about too. It was like, man, did something happen to Pauper? Did everybody just get better? Because I went on a streak there where I was cashing 2 out of 3 daily events, and it wasn't even that hard for me. It was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna play, and hey, I need some more tickets to draft. I'm just gonna play Pauper daily event because I'm pretty much guaranteed to win. So it was really rough on me whenever I went on this big losing streak. And
I think one important thing as well, if you play a lot of dailies, is that you have to recognize your upswings, because you were on an insane upswing. And I remember talking to you at the point that I said, this is unlikely. You are not this good. You are good, but you're not this good, as you were scoring in like 75% of dailies.
Yeah, and a lot of that too had to do with like my meta call, which is I picked up Delver right as Simic Stormpost is getting really popular, and Delver had an insane matchup against Simic Stormpost.
Yeah.
And I encountered one of those at least every daily. So when I was playing Delver and cashing in 75% of the events, it was, I had one round at least that was a buy. And it got more and more if I was playing 2 Simic Stormpost decks in a daily event. It was just like, okay, well, that's a buy. And it got to the point where, I had the buys, and then, Delver's like a 50-50 deck for a lot of matchups anyway, so all I had to do was play better than my opponent 50% of the time, and 1 to 2 Simic Stormpost matchups, which are buys. A lot of people were playing Burn back then, which is also a buy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like the meta choice when I was winning a lot was Delver, and it was just really good for that meta. So I do attribute it to some of that.
Do you keep track of your daily event results?
No. I told you back a while I was going to start, and I haven't yet.
Because one interesting metric as well is the QPs per daily. And that makes me want to hear David's thoughts on this, as I like his name in the show notes here.
I didn't put it there.
I always so I don't give a shit about downswings.
I definitely have downswings, and I have them in both limited and Pauper. Definitely a lot more in limited. I think a story I wanted to tell was when Innistrad came out, I couldn't win. I just could not figure out how to win a match of Innistrad. And I started off, at that time, I didn't really play 8 Force because I was afraid of them. I played 4-3-2-2s because I was an idiot. And I moved from 4-3-2-2s to Swisses. Like, out of pride, I just felt like I needed to, out of pride in, like, for my wallet, I needed to move down to Swisses. So I started playing Swisses, and I still wasn't doing very well. I couldn't win one. I could barely 2-1 them. I was just could not win, and I didn't know how or why. And this is before Spider Spawning, which like catapulted me up because I was pretty good at drafting and playing that, but because it's combo. But so what I did is I just told myself, you know what, you can't win at this. So stop blaming yourself. Like, just play Magic to have fun. Like, this is a game. It's not like profession. It's not my job. It's just a fun hobby. So I started trying to build decks that other people didn't see. So I started trying to build stuff like what I do with Pauper, except in a draft format. And I didn't come across Spider Spawning or anything like that. What I did come across was a really terrible red-white deck. And it was a deck with like the Siege Mastodons of the format and like all these really dirtily things, and I just had Curse of the Pierce Hearts. I wanted to pick up as many of those as I could. I played the Curse of the Pierce Hearts, and then just like set up my wall of guys, and it worked really well. It actually worked like so well that I started winning the Shields with them, and then I was doing, or the Swisses with them, and I was doing so well that I just kept doing this deck and forcing it because it was really easy to force. Because no one wanted any of the cards I wanted. And then Spider Spawning came out, and I took off with that, and then Innistrad became one of my favorite formats. So sometimes what you just have to do is go have fun and forget this is anything other than a game. You know, I think a lot of the people we interact with in the community, in the Pauper area, want us to be really spiky and really intense and make money and want to listen to this podcast for that. But some of the best advice I can give is don't do that. It's just why reduce this game to a chore or a game, or a profession when you should be playing it for fun. And once I started having fun with it, I started realizing that, you know, sometimes variance is a part of this game, as much as we're told not to think about it that way. And I was just getting kind of variance for a long time, and then I let my play skill catch up with me, and I haven't looked back since. And I mean, I've had similar stuff going on too with M14. I was just crushing that format for a long time. I've fallen dramatically since then. I keep losing to terrible green-red decks every time I try to do anything. Just like with the 3/4 Intimidate guy, the Cyclops or whatever. It's just like terrible decks that crush me with awful things. And I think it's a combination of not really caring that much about the format anymore, and just like variance. But it's something you just have to accept as part of the game, and just try to have fun even when you're getting beaten by a 3/4 Intimidate that can't block 2/2s.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. The swings, have fun. And the other thing too is you don't have to play formats. Sometimes you just can't figure something out, or you're just having so much trouble. You don't need to. There's a lot of Magic to be played. You don't need to keep playing M14, which is what I've done. I just said, you know what? I apparently cannot beat Cyclops Tyrant, or whatever he's called. I'm just going to not play M14 for a while. And so I've been cubing and doing other stuff because I started not having fun losing to that card. And
that's one of the great things with Magic, and especially Magic Online, that you can just play some other sort.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously for us, if we're struggling with Pauper, that's a serious problem because we talk about Pauper every week. We need to play it. I'm not going to say it's my profession, but if I were to get paid, it could be my profession. You know, we put in so much time and energy, and it's important for us to be good at it. So that's not really an option there, but you just have to keep going back to the other stuff we've talked about then in that instance. And you can still do it a little bit. I mean, you can reduce your Pauper play to try to start having fun with it again. And you can try to do the stuff you guys talked about, where you just move from skill-intensive decks to decks that are inherently powerful and easy to play, that will just naturally get you where you need to go.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like Elves is a really fun deck.
Yeah, it is.
When it goes off, you draw 1 million cards and you gain 1 million life and you deal 1 million damage. So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
You know, so you go off with Elves, and it's a lot of fun to do that. But you know, these other skill-intensive decks like Stompy and Delver, you don't get to have like that much fun with that deck. And what I finally did was, I said, screw it. I'm just gonna play this Elves deck all in. I don't care. They counter my Distant Melody. I don't care, because you know what? I played a bunch of little green men. So it was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, that's actually the deck I used when I had a little slide in Pauper, right when Fissure Post was getting really popular. I was still like winning the mirrors, but there was a lot of Delver, a lot of Cyclops Fiend, which is right after that came out. So I had a little slide there. The one deck I've ever played in a daily that someone else designed was Elves, and it was for the exact same reason. I mean, we picked the same deck to get over our slides.
All right.
I think one more point about Pauper itself and about having fun and about being spiky. If you are really, really spiky, if you really want to test yourself, and what you see with almost all of the best Pauper players, they move into other formats as well, because Pauper's upside as a tournament format is so limited, especially now with no premium events. If you are the best Pauper player in the world, you will win 11 packs, and that's really quite not that much.
No.
So if you're doing really well in the Pauper dailies and are not playing other formats, you should definitely do so. And Pauper is a great way to build the bankroll necessary to play the other formats. But it is a gateway. That's what Wizard intends it to be.
Yeah, and a lot of people.
No one's getting rich playing Pauper. I'll tell you that.
Oh.
I
Yeah,
just have one thing to add to kind of recovering from downswings is that something that I've done in my past. I used to be like a competitive StarCraft 2 player, and there was a point where I was ranked in the top 1,000 in the world.
Nice.
And there was a streak where I went on, I don't know, 2 weeks of just getting blown out in matches. I couldn't win anything. So I kind of just, took a step back from the game for a while, for about, I don't know, I think about a week or a week and a half, and just played like, casual games just against friends, just talking with them. And then, all of a sudden I had that like aha moment, like, this is what I've been doing wrong. Everyone kind of shifted this way, and I kind of stayed on the same path. And then, I wasn't really going where everyone else was going, and that was kind of leading towards, some of my losses and rating losses. So, that's the same kind of thing that people can apply to any kind of competitive sport, is that when you're losing, don't just keep on bashing your head against the wall saying, I'm just going to keep on playing until I get out of this funk. Kind of take a step back, like, think about why you've been losing. Look at, go back and watch some of your game replays, take some notes, say, oh, you know what, I've been playing this card at this point when I should really be, waiting for it in this matchup, and things like that. So I really think that taking a step back, maybe taking a break from a couple of daily events could really, help you in that recovery process.
Is there any luck in competitive StarCraft 2?
Any luck?
Yeah. Is there can you luck in getting good matchups or?
No, not really. Because when you get paired in a match, you get paired against somebody who is equal rating to you. You do get there's very little luck in where you get placed on the map, but most of the time it's pretty equal.
It's chess basically, though.
It really is chess. You have to kind of it's a lot of scouting. It's a lot of determining, knowing the opponent that you're going against. Because once you get into like the upper tier, everyone kind of keeps with the same tendencies. So you have to say, this player likes to have the a fast open, or this player likes to have a quick expansion, things like that. So you kind of have to know what you're going against, and then once you kind of see what their strategy is, you have to play in your strategy to how you're going to beat what they're doing. So there's not really like the luck. There's not like in Magic where you go against the deck and they just get the nut draw and you're land screwed. So no, I would say luck is maybe less than 5% of any given match.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, just take a step back. I did that for a little bit too. I tried taking a step back, and that didn't really work for me. But, I took about a week and a half, 2 weeks off of Magic in my frustration, and I came back and lost another 2 dailies. So, but yeah, I think probably beating this to death. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and try and close this out now, despite your protests, David.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
in 6.5 hours, there will be a Pauper Daily event where Cloud Post and Temporal Fissure is banned. It will be fantastic! I will be there. I will be playing Blue Black Trinket.
Will you be recording?
Yeah, check the YouTube channel.
I will. I'll check it while I'm at
I
work.
will probably O2 like a boss.
You should stream it.
No, I'm a horrible streamer. I would be the first comment would like confuse the hell out of me, and then I would what's happening?
Just turn off comments.
Just check my tier 1 day stream for the Pauper Gauntlet, and you will see how much streaming confuses me. I'm also playing on that's like one of the sort of bad habits you pick up being a poker player is that you have to take every small edge there is. So I'm playing on an unlisted account with no results, and as long as I don't stand a chance to get to the mocks, I'm usually just jumping around on unlisted accounts when I play dailies, so people can't scout my deck. Should be like a 1% edge or something.
Well, some of us don't have multiple accounts. You know, I only want to spend $10.
It's a great place to have multiple accounts. I'll tell you, it's.
I don't want to spend another $10.
And you get, you pretty much get $10 of value. I even pay 25% VAT for extra accounts, and it's still a great deal.
All right. So let's go ahead and close this out. How can we contact you, David?
You can read my articles and comment on them on MTGO Strat. I do a Thoughtcast series. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at ShapeWalker5. And you can find me on Twitch, www.twitch.tv/ShapeWalker5.
All right, Dan?
Streaming lately, dude.
No, but that should change eventually.
Nice.
And Dan?
You can contact me on Twitter at MagicGathStrat. I am on YouTube at Magic Gathering Strat. And I'm also on MTGO Strat 20 times a day.
All right. And Will, I assume you're also on MTGO Strat.
Yep, I'm on TGO Strat. I don't know if anybody knew that, but you can follow me on Twitter at MTGO Strat. So that kind of works out. Been playing a lot of MTGO, so find me on there. I'm Millhouse02, so if you want to message me in game, get a couple matches in, more than willing to, play with some people.
Yeah, for sure. On MTGO, you can contact me. I'm C Weaver. I know a lot of people have commented that they like the videos and stuff that I do. So, yeah, anytime you encounter me, I play in the tournament practice room a lot, too. So, you can contact me there. Always down for a game. On Twitter, you can contact me at cweaver8518. And that's about it for us. Anything else you guys want to add?
I think we're done.
All right.
That's it.
This has been Competitive Pauper Cast, episode 8.